Okay, there is a feature in the American Southwest that geologists call fins. And these are lines of rock fractures that are supposedly fractures from uplift from salt tectonics and plate tectonics. So in this area here, this is in Utah, right next to Castle Valley. I did a video on that valley. It's very incredible. But this right here, this is all supposedly, these aren't, supposedly they're not erosional features, right? Even though you get potholes and scours and all sorts of features related to water in these areas, and cataracts, and obviously the Grand Canyon is not too far from this. So there's a lot of features of water erosion, but these are supposedly rock fractures from plate tectonics. Now notice how they curve. They can make strong curves, and that's not something you would expect plate tectonics to make. You would expect something very uniform. Okay, so what are these features? Clearly they're erosional features from sheet water flow. That's how you get parallel ruts. Okay, it's very easy to see that. So this is Washington, right? Another place known for a lot of water erosion. Now we see a river here with a high terrace and a lower terrace, and then one more even lower. So we get a lot of erosion, decreasing water flow, and we follow this river down and we follow the ruts. Okay, this is a current rut landscape. These are all river ruts. Okay, and then you follow it down and you find, some mounds in here, right? Also a feature of fluvial deposition and erosion. And that's classic scablands. River ruts are found all over the world, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. But first, I really want you to see how, even with the curve of this river, they're also there. But the thing about river ruts is because they're so straight, they're from sheet water flow. So when you look at this, we're not just talking about river being confined to an area, but actually dominating the landscape in a much larger way. And there's some other places that really show that. Let's see if I can find this spot here. So this is a Columbia River. And then parallel to the Columbia River, you've got these ruts. Okay, pretty simple. So that's exactly what these are. And when we go to other places, we find that they're parallel with the Colorado River. So, for example, these ruts here, they're going in the same megascale direction. So from here to here was the width of the river. And then you zoom in and then you find the current ruts. Then you find the evidence of the water, right? See how it connected from here to here? Creating thin little cataracts. And so you get all these parallel ruts, and then you get them right next to cataracts, right? And here you can see a cross section where you got them coming this way and then going that way. And that's something really common. You always find that. You can find that all over the world. And then so here you get two ruts leading into kind of a double cataract formation. And all sorts of ruts coming off of here. And so it's really easy to look at ruts and understand a lot because you understand the current directions, right? You understand that they went parallel with the current. That doesn't actually mean you know the direction, right? When you find large cataracts in that direction, then you can be more certain. So for example, here you can see the current direction most likely went this way since the cataracts are bigger on this side of the ravine than on this side. Those are just some inferences you can make. So current ruts are absolutely all over this landscape. Now, the strata of these rocks isn't deformed from plate tectonics. What's going on? Come on. So the strata is actually really flat. So, I mean, look at all this. This is really flat, and it's all connected. I think there's some good ones over here. Yeah, look at this. I mean, this is textbook current ruts. I mean, you think that's all, I mean, they're all streamlined, right? And if you go there, you see that they're undercut as well, like hoodoos, right? And of course, they're going to say, oh, well, that's the wind, the sand blew underneath it. And it's like, zoom out to Google Earth to get the big picture. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I'm on Google Earth, you know, because you can literally see the whole world on here. It's an amazing tool to have access to 24 hours a day. Here's another great spot, right? All of this strata is flat. These aren't fractures. Okay. Just because there's broken off doesn't mean that they're... And also it's crossed the strata. So the strata is laid down horizontally and these are cuts across them vertically. You would have expected it to break with the grain, you know, with the strata. So there's a good spot. I think we already saw that one. Let me find a good one here. Hold on. This one you kind of see them coming across this way. But the dominant ravines are all pointed this way. So when you study ravines and watersheds, one of the types is called parallel. And they just have that as a term, but they never say, oh yeah, it's because of sheet water flow. But you can find ravines like this, and they call them parallel ravines. And those are from sheet water flow. And then you go over here, and you find these are all sediment lobes. Right? Not from wind, because the wind can't cut the currents, the current ruts. They're perfectly in line with these ruts here, these parallel ravines. But these are not from anything other than water. Water creates these the best. You can find them at the bottom of rivers all day long. But one of my favorite current ruts is this guy here in I'm not sure if this is Utah or Arizona, but look at this, that nice curving path to it. And it's somewhat, you see, it's like imagine this made a nice curving bank, and then you get this curving bank here. So it kind of goes back and forth, and you can look at the larger banks, and then all of this was all below water level when this was being carved. But you got a water current coming from down here and just making a nice turn. And these are parallel canyons. And then when you zoom in, you can find current ruts crossing each other. Right, that's another common feature we find with current ruts. You can find this in Australia. Makes quite the place. Now, this feature has several theories of origin. There is the hypothesis that these are maybe the rock was injected with veins of iron and other stuff, right? Because this is all red beds here. So you got a lot of iron in this rock. So possibly a contributing factor to where these ruts formed was the veins. But I think largely it has to do with the current. And we'll really see that once we look at carving river currents. So let's look at some more spots. Actually, this spot here. This is in Africa, east coast of Africa. And here we've got parallel canyons. Looks like Oregon. Let's check the width. almost 2 miles. And then you see how this is a trough here, and that also kind of curves a little bit, and you've got other features of erosion. But when we look at this side by side, and you see how this curved, or let's rotate it. I guess we'd have to inverse it to make it match perfectly, but the way that this curves right above a river, or right next to a river on its bank, and then the way that these curve up on the bank too. And then you can follow these features, and like here, these are all parallel canyons. A lot of terraces. These are all river steps. Quite the amazing feature. And then you come down here and you find the same thing. And if you look at where the larger river banks were, you know, it's over 40 miles across. So you need to dial up your catastrophism to at least 10 to start understanding the erosion of the earth. And then you also have to understand that this is full of salt, right? These are all salt lakes. So what does that indicate to us? We know that there's a big body of water that does a lot of erosion, even on a uniform scale that contains salt. So you take the catastrophism level and you dial that up to 10. Now you're going to start to understand why you've got salt valleys 17.5 miles wide in the middle of arid Africa. Okay, now let's check out, this is Ethiopia. Same feature, right? We zoom out and we can see this right here. We get a cross. River was coming across here. River was coming across here. And then we get the features going across the screen. And when we get the full picture, this is what we see. A massive expansion bar. This is not a tectonic feature. This is an erosional feature. Okay. And check this out. That's right where we were, down here. Okay, so all of this connects from Tanzania. Let me go kind of zoom in. We can follow this path here. From Tanzania, we saw the current ruts here, 43 miles wide. We keep going up. We found these current ruts on the side bank. We keep going up. We find a path of lakes. Lakes are almost always scours, especially when you find rectangular edges on them. This one's nice and rectangular. Then you keep going and it expands. This is an expansion bar. Now, tectonics could have something to do with it, but it also, based upon these ruts here, it's indicating a current that would make that feature understood as an expansion bar, because you've got the current ruts coming right out of it. And then, of course, what's cross-secting the ruts coming out of that expansion bar is a current coming down from, coming through, what is this, the Persian, or the Red Sea, right? Yeah. So you got the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the Mediterranean. So let's go clean. Okay, so water current coming down through the Red Sea, going through the Gulf of Aden. But when it flows over Ethiopia, that's when the magic happens. Because if you're skeptical that these were all current ruts and you think they have something to do with tectonics, look at how clearly defined this river channel is. It's deep at 4 miles wide. It's 4 miles wide and deep and full of salt. And it curves, and it's next to other curving ruts. So there's no way to understand Ethiopia's erosion at all without understanding what type of force the ocean once was on the earth. And once you understand that, you'll be able to understand, South America, Australia, the rest of Africa, the Great Lakes, the Mississippi River. And here we get some kind of scoured up regions. So anytime you see a circular depression, you can think one of the most common things it could be is a plunge pool, right? So when you have a cataract, the water coalesces at the base, and that creates the plunge pool. So that's what this feature is here. And this is all scabbed up. Okay, but let's check out this spot here. Or actually this spot here. So from this here, we can see that these are sediment lobes going down this direction. We can see the direction of this deposit. Then we see that these are drumlins, right? Drumlins going into sediment lobes. That's a very common thing to find. And you keep going down, you get some more drumlins. Then you turn into really nice mounds. One of the best mounds in the world. Over a mile wide. So when you find perfect mounds in line, right? Remember in the beginning of the video when we saw mounds in line? Gotta go back to show you. Crap, I forgot the spot. He's fumbling the spot live. You know what? I'll just go to another spot I know right here. So these are mounds in line within drumlins, right? Mounds within lines of drumlins, and then current ruts. And then a double cataract feature that's renowned. It's Dry Falls. Don't even think about that being a big patch of salt, because that's not important. Just kidding, it's very important. There's also salt all over here. But anyways, parallel ruts, parallel drumlins, and then lines of mounds. Okay? And then we go back to our spot here. Man. Okay. We've got the parallel lines, which are drumlins. And then we've got the mounds, which are fluvial. And then we go back into some sick drumlins. A little bit of mound action on them, right? Love them. Just gotta love those. Man. And then keep going down. I mean, these things are so massive. These are some of the best drumlins in the world. And obviously have nothing to do with ice. But just the thickness, 1.5 miles. So imagine walking for like 20 minutes across a drumlin. Depends on your walking speed, but you're walking on sand, so it'd take a while to cross just one of those drumlins. Now, it's kind of hard to see it without an elevation map, but I'll let you know right now, this is a big river channel, right? Bank to bank, and this bank here is relatively straight. And then it comes around and curves. This is all the cliff edge, right? It's got a lot of cataracts coming off of it and expansion bars coming off of it. But this is all a mega scale river here. And I've shown you in other videos with a topographical map, but this is 46 miles wide. So you got a mega channel river leads directly into a drumlin full of mounds of catastrophic size. And what is that, salt? Huh. Starting to figure it out. But what's cool about these mounds is they've got little rings around them. Right? So if you look at a rock in a river, the current's going to carve around it. That's exactly what these are. So these mounds here are saying, we are fluvial. And the scientists are like, no, you guys are from the wind. They're like, no, we've got salt too. They say, shut up. Don't say that. All right, let's go to the next spot. Okay, we already went there. Oh, yeah. We are in India. And you already know what this is. This nice channel here. Let's get a width on it. Cool, 20 miles, no big deal. But what I'm interested in are these fins from tectonics. Yes. Think of the tectonic forces that cut parallel ruts. Okay? You could think of them that way, or you could think, hey, they're parallel with this river channel. Maybe while this river channel was being formed, water was also flowing over this, making these parallel ruts, right? And that would be a theory that would make sense if you have studied all the continents extensively. For example, in Australia, you find no shortage of these features. Look at this, this is a big old cataract here. But India is actually an insane spot for current ruts. So here you got current ruts going right into some deeper channels. Like, look at this. See how they're seamless? Look at this. These are completely seamless with these current ruts. Then, of course, they start to get real chaotic. Some nice ones there. Now, this spot here is too obvious in disproving the old tectonics, because check out how much they curve. I mean, this is insane. Yeah, I should have opened with this spot, honestly. This is the best. Look at how these are streamlined. Fantastic. And let's see what we got over here. This is a nice streamlined feature. Nice little butte. Okay, so that was a good spot. Let's go farther down. India. That one's kind of less clear, but we see the same thing here coming across. Now this is a cool one because it flows right into this cataract, right? So sudden ravine, if it's got a point, if it's rounded, that's a cataract. So these sudden ravines line up with these two ruts here. Those are current ruts. So there you have it. And then the larger current ruts, you got some coming across here. Got 3 coming across here. See, there must be some ruts here as well. Yeah, let's get real chaotic. Okay, so now we are in Ireland. Good old Ireland. Now this spot This is the Grand Canyon of the Irish coast. That's at least what I call it. But check out these current ruts. Okay, you get the same ones coming across. And this is a nice little plunge pool right into a sudden ravine / cataract feature. Thick terrace here, thinner terraces up towards the top of the mesa. But you see the cataracts cutting across.